All right, I'm here with another Alovéa Pros podcast, and I have to say this is one I am extremely excited about because usually I get to talk to one pro, whether it's a healthcare professional or whether it's an athlete or a coach or a trainer. But these are two ladies I got to meet up in the mountains of Western North Carolina. We had this special event up at a place called Bear Lake Reserve, and these ladies were just absolutely amazing. And I get the honor to have both of you here today, Sarah and Stephanie. Welcome to the
Yay!
podcast.
Hello.
Great to see you guys again. It was so much more fun seeing you face to face here in the mountains, but it's still pretty awesome to see you on the podcast. So for everybody listening, this is a really cool story because you got two powerful women they'll explain kind of their business and what they're doing, but you kind of went from the traditional medical world and or healthcare world and then also pharmaceutical world. And you both kind of fell in love with this new space of what can happen when you take care of your body with functional food and functional nutrition and what you're doing the right way and how it can really change what happens. So how did this all start for both of you?
Well, Steph, why don't you take off?
Okay. Well, for me, it really started on my own healthcare journey. I worked in conventional medicine for 21 years. I went to multiple doctors to try to figure out why I was so fatigued in my body and just not feeling well. And then I just kind of went on this journey of learning what nutrition really is. Growing up, I think we get this ideology of food just being something that fills us. And it's a totally different situation when you look at it as the fuel that it's supposed to help with our bodies to give us energy and all the things that we need to get through our day. And I had that disconnect. I just didn't understand that until I started really investigating how my body felt with certain foods. And so I just got a real passion on the nutrition piece. And I decided to go to school and learn more about how nutrition can really impact the body and really learning the dynamics of how deep nutrition goes when we're talking about pretty much any kind of health or wellness goal that you're looking for. So that being said, I ended up opening up my practice about 3 years ago. And I basically see complex cases, people that kind of have been going around circles, just not being able to figure out things. So I kind of break things down and help them understand the nutrigenomics part, which is a fun word to use. But really, it's just understanding how nutrition impacts the cell. Cellular health is real big in the health and wellness space right now. So really understanding what nutrition does at the cellular level is probably the best place to start. And I really enjoy just being able to hear people's stories and helping them align what they need for their wellness, their lifestyle, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's pretty cool that you actually started with something happening to yourself, right? You know, you've been through this traditional path in the healthcare world and it's like, whoa, something's impacting me. And it like opened up this new world. And I love those stories. And Sarah, so what happened to you? You went from pharmaceutical sales, you're just...
Yeah. Okay.
And I know your personality. You were crushing it.
I was. I actually got recruited by one because I was actually on another team and then got recruited away from another company because I was making too much market share in there. So that was kind of fun. But I was trained as a conventional dietitian and did not go and sit for my RD because it just didn't feel right in the clinical space. I've always been an equilibrium disruptor and a change agent. That's kind of what I do. And that never really felt right. And I know that God closed that door. He closed the door of me going to medical school because I probably would have been suspended by not following direction.
I like how you straight up about it. Yeah.
It just is what it is. And so then I was in pharma for a good 12 years as a hospital account manager, regular rep. And I ended up with Lyme disease and was very sick for 10 years and went to doctor to doctor to doctor. I was working in the med center in Houston, the best medical center in the world, and nobody could help me. And I was devastated on but I have all this knowledge and I have all these access to these resources. And then I started to dive into, well, hey, I've got this foundation in nutrition. What would happen if I actually dug a little deeper? With the brain capacity that I had, I really didn't have much. But if I knew what I know now, back then, I would have approached it much differently. So it actually ended up on my healing journey is when I really redefined nutrition to not, like Steph said, to not just be the food that fuels our cell, or the food, it serves a purpose of fueling our soul too. Like it's the vehicle that brings us around the table. So it fuels our cell and it fuels our soul. But it also is defined as spiritual nutrition and emotional nutrition. And you cannot silo those aspects and work just on one area. You can't just work on your physical nutrition with ignoring your emotional and spiritual. And when I tapped into that and really dug into a functional approach of looking at the body holistically and how the systems work together, not just chasing a symptom relief, I was able to completely heal myself with the help of a couple of functional medicine practitioners. My jam too is nutrigenomics. That's a fancy word for understanding cell pathways and how the mechanics of everything works, and how you can, it's kind of like the code. You get the code of how things work in the body. And then it was just this spiritual and nutritional and emotional approach that really landed me into, I haven't had a flare in 5 years. So
Wow.
I
That's
support
amazing.
my body with key components. And I had a phrase that I think is really important. It's vitamin G is G3 is like grace, gratitude, and God. So that's the most important vitamin to take in the day. And then live when allowed and rest when required. And that's kind of where I'm at.
I feel like we need to make a shirt after this podcast. That is awesome. Well, it's
I
kind of
know.
like vitamin D. I've heard of vitamin L in food. We have a bunch of restaurants. So I always, we always say, "Ooh, that is good vitamin L in it, vitamin love," right?
Yeah.
Right. So how did you guys then come together? Because you're part of a whole system together and what
We
you guys.
are. We are. Yeah. It was the beautiful thing of social media. We were in a group together. I know, right? I hate social media, but I love it for this reason.
Okay.
It's a love-hate relationship. No, like Steph and I were in a group. We actually did the same functional certification, didn't know it, found ourselves in a group that supported that afterwards, kind of. And that's kind of how we connected. We're kind of bold connectors anyway. And we're like, hey, I like how you ran through that. Hey, I like how you went through that. Hey, maybe we should connect. And so we did. And that was 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Because you guys kind of act like you've been together a long, long time. I just assumed you guys kind of like have been friends. You've been traveling, vacations all around the world. You went on this path together. No, it's just really the last few years.
The last 3 years. Yeah, God's really cool in the way that he joins his people together for a greater purpose. I think it's super fun when you can see that in your seasons of the pain in the purpose. And then there's this beautiful like harvest that happens. So Steph and I were, I was working with I have another business partner that we kind of created this network of practitioners. And it's funny, Stephanie and I just found a podcast that she did a couple of years, I think it was like right when you started. And it was like foreshadowing of all of the things that have come to fruition over the
That's
last
always
like
cool, right?
probably 6 months. I know.
I was bawling.
She's
Were you?
like
Yes.
over here praising, and I'm like, this is.
What was the vision, Stephanie? What were you like 3 years ago? Where were you thinking this was going?
So, to be honest with you, Craig, I got pulled into this space kicking and screaming because 3 years ago, if you remember correctly, a lot of people that work in the medical field had to make a very big decision.
Oh, yes.
And I had never sat with the Lord as much as I had in that time in my life as I did in that season. And gave me this opportunity to just start a podcast. And really, I was doing it to try to verbal process my emotions and the things that I was going through and trying to make this big decision. And the very first episode, I just started talking about what was on my heart. And I started talking about how I wanted to like bring practitioners together and just work in the same space and marry conventional and integrative medicine together. Because I do believe there's a part for each of them. And the marriage between the two is really how people are able to get better and have a better quality of life and all those things. And I talked about how I wanted to be able to have wise counsel and have people in my circle that I could trust and I could talk to about things. And I think I was literally talking about Sarah without thinking I was talking about Sarah.
That's what I was thinking. God was like,
Yeah.
I've got something for you. It's called Sarah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I really feel like that's it, because Sarah has been, ever since I met her out of that Facebook group, the first time I got on the phone with her, I was struggling trying to figure out how to navigate my practice. And some of these cases coming in right off the bat were so complex. I had to spend like 48 hours just researching what it was. And yeah. And I'm like, okay, I trust God. I trust God. I know that this is going to be, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm letting go of this other thing that's been my comfort zone for 21 years. And I'm trusting and taking the leap, right? And so here comes Sarah, just kind of calming the chaos in my mind and just being like, it's okay. Okay, this is what you're going to do. This is what you need. And she just became this beautiful earth angel that just really showed me her light, in that what I was pursuing was really true, and it was good. I just needed a little bit of help along the way to figure that out. And really, this whole thing has blossomed because of her obedience to the Lord, her love of people, and how much she really cares about helping people learn about their bodies, and also just knowing that spiritual component. For me, what I got from her was spiritual vitamin C, which is connection.
Wow. We're just kind of like making up all these new vitamins. I'm kind of loving it.
I love
And
it.
by the way, when you asked God for all of this and he gave you Sarah, did you also say, I want her to be like unbelievably, amazingly positive and full of energy and super fun? Or was that like the icing on the cake?
No, like, I think he knew that's what I needed, because my cup was so low, and I was like on fumes, and I needed her to pour her oil into me.
We
That's
got
so
a fun story
beautiful.
about that. Yeah.
So,
Gosh, like all this gushing over here. I feel like I don't take that well. I mean, that's awesome. And I will receive that because I
Thank
know I have
you.
a greater purpose. And, a lot of, I love systems and processes. And I love, like she said, a calming chaos. Like I feel like everything is a big puzzle. And, you throw 1,000, 2,000 piece puzzle on the table, and you build the edges, and then you sort the piles, and then you start, but being able to visualize what that picture looks like. I've used that analogy in with my clients that I work with too, is, we kind of help deconstruct what the chaos of everything that you're hearing out there. Oh, take this. Oh, do this. Oh, sleep 7 hours. Oh, wait, you got to do, I mean, there's like these 7-second TikTok reels that are giving people all this information firing and going. And it's like, all we got to do is go back to the simplicity of understanding that your body has a conversation with you, and we just need to interpret the language.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same thing happens from the business side of, a lot of people that step into this space of caring and healing are really good at their job at that. They're really good at helping people interpret all of that and what that means for them. The understanding the business process and the model is a little bit different. And I think that's why, the Lord placed me in pharma and running all of that. And then I was a worship director at our church, and ran like Sunday school, and then was a leader of a nonprofit that built systems and all of this from the ground up. And all of that is converged into this one beautiful, of how it is helping not only people in the clients that I work with in my practice, but also this bigger system of practitioners that are collaborating together. So when I met Steph, my business partner and I were in a process of kind of dabbling with a business model for practitioners to cost share some things, because when you're by yourself, you got this monthly cost and this monthly cost. And then you're like, I don't know how to get clients, and I got all these monthly expenses, and I got to charge $10,000 just to pay for my overhead. But so we kind of created this little group model that we are our own entities. So we all have in our little collective, we have like 8 of us, 7 of us that have our own individual practices, but we cost share like our CRM, we cost share Zoom, we cost share some Google. And then, it's like, well, let's try it and see how that works. And then from that, we built this bigger network. So we have the functional practitioner network that kind of took that idea without the business model, like that part, but blew it up into, we all believe so passionately about helping people get to the root of their issues, helping practitioners get stronger, collaborating together. So our tagline is collaboration over competition, because when
That.
When we collaborate and stop competing, we are a force to be reckoned with. And I'm a big strength finders person. I love strength finders. I think it's like the coolest thing ever. It's kind of like your, spiritual gifts, like just being written out for you. This is yours. This is how you were designed. This is your, this is your purpose. This is your, stop trying to figure out your weaknesses. Go find somebody else to partner with, match up together, and boom, let's like take it on.
Stephanie, you said wisdom earlier. That's wisdom right there.
Yeah,
Right.
That is wisdom.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, so then you get to celebrate all the time. Like I get to live in my zone of genius. Stephanie gets to live in hers. Craig, you get to live in yours. And we get to create this beautiful, like, combustion of chaos that creates this semblance of order. And it's so fun celebrating people doing their thing and how God made them and gave them a purpose.
I
So
love
the
it.
network kind of came out of that. And then, we do a lot of things with all these practitioners. We have nurses, we have health coaches, we have dietitians, we have nutritionists, we have NPs, we have naturopathic doctors. And we're creating these collaborative care circles where if, one is really great at this and then the other one is good at this, and they're designing programs together of how they can, fulfill their individual purposes. And guess who wins at the end? The person you're serving.
Yes.
So it's awesome. And we've been, the cool thing about how we found Alovéa was we get asked all the time,
Yeah,
hey, we have this
everybody
amazing
would approach
product,
you guys.
Mhm.
amazing product, and you have, oh my gosh, you have all these clients and you have all these, this would be great. And we're always looking for other revenue, other streams of revenue to diversify. That's smart business practices. But also, it has to be the integrity of the product that we believe in too. We don't, I'm a product snob. I'm a biochemist at heart. My degrees are in nutrition, biology, and chemistry. And so I kind of get lost in the weeds sometimes on that. But
Like how
it works
Stephanie's like, sometimes.
because we get to then, other people come to us asking us, hey, I saw this on social media. Do you think it would be good for me? And so it shifts like our approach a little bit. But when we align with key like products that really make impact in people, it's just, again, it's a win-win all across the board. So,
Yeah. Well, and
and
that's,
I
it's interesting
love
because
that.
you guys are creating something more like a lot of the people I've interviewed, different pros are, they're a coach for this sport and they have a great coaching program, or they're a high-end athlete, or they're a healthcare practitioner that are focusing on just their own clinic. You guys have now kind of given birth to this concept that is spread where you're a whole network of practitioners
Mm-hmm.
and it's expanding. The importance of it, in any coach and any practitioner putting anything into their practice or their clinic, they have to fully believe in. But when you're being sponsored by a company, you're being partnered, kind of like an athlete being sponsored with, like I was a tennis player and got sponsored by Wilson and Adidas. Like I was proud to represent those brands, but if I didn't like the racket, I wouldn't use it. And if I didn't like the Adidas clothes, I wouldn't use it. But you guys have this next level of authority because of what you do and your
Right.
background, and you're representing this huge network now. So how did you guys get introduced to Alovéa? And then what was the reasoning saying, yeah, you know what? We are going to become an Alovéa Pro. We do want to get sponsored by this company. We do believe in putting this into what we're doing.
Okay, this is a great story. Can I start, Steph? So I had done some teaching for another network marketing company because I was really annoyed by people sharing things that they didn't understand. Like they would go, and you could tell they would go off of Google and they would pull up, "Ooh, this is what magnesium does. So I'm going to post that the 300," and I'm like, that is not what your product does. Oh my God. So I befriended somebody that was high up in the rankings or whatever. I don't really know how business structure like worked on that end because I just didn't, it just drives me nuts. But I got in with her and I said, can I please just come in and do some workshops and teach people beyond the bottle? That was like my phrase. That was the name of my little thing. And to teach them how to share responsibly. I'm not asking you guys to be scientists, but I am asking you to know enough to where when you do know that you don't know, then you pass it on to somebody who does. Like that is integrity to me. And I hated to see that people were just selling it because they could,
Mm-hmm.
and because it worked for them. And then there's this whole, well, the reason why this isn't going to work for this person is X, Y, and Z. And so it was just kind of giving that higher level confidence to be able to. And there was somebody that would always take my classes, like would always be in there. And has been recruiting me for like 2 or 3, probably 2.5 years. Lisa
Wow.
Seaman. Lisa Seaman.
Lisa. Okay. Yeah.
Lisa. Yes. And she would always send me, hey, we're going to be in Dallas. Would you like to come? I was like, oh, and it wasn't that I was ignoring her. It was just that it was always the timing was like, I got something, there was a tennis match that my girl was in, or we were orchestra concert, or I had something else. And she just would gently, hey, I know, I just really believe in this molecule. I really believe in these products. I just think this aligns so well with what you do, Sarah. This aligns so well with what you do. And I'm like thinking, oh my God, another network marketing company. I just got burned by the one that I was working with that I didn't sell the product, but I could never ask any scientific questions. I could never get in and get product information without there being this big, it was just gross. And so I was completely turned off by all of
Yeah.
that.
No way. I'm not going down this road again.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So I don't know. I think it was a little nudge of the Holy Spirit. It was like, I really think you need to listen to this because you have like 3 long haul COVID people that aren't responding to anything. I was like, all right. So I was like, okay, Lisa, tell me about this ACE man. And she's like, okay. So there's this new program that's for professionals. And I was like, what? This is different. Huh.
Okay.
And then
she talked about the pros program right away.
She did because I just came on back in July of last year. And she had told me about this later. I mean, I kind of came in and was like, okay, I'll dabble with this. I'll see. I worked with a lot of athletes at my local university. We were trying some things out. Like they love focus. They love fuel. Like I was like, okay, there's something to this. My daughter's a tennis player. I'm like, she's like, ooh, this is really good, Mom. Like, this is different. I'm like, okay. All right. Okay. So then I just like, okay, I'll marinate on this. And then I got to listen to Sam and I got to, ask some questions. Wait, I can ask questions? Hold on a second. Shut the front door. I get to be my scientific nerd geek and nobody's going to tell me that I can't ask the question because it makes other people uncomfortable. Okay, this is different. And then I called Steph and I was like, hey, so there's this thing that's happening in North Carolina and I think you should go. So that's kind of how.
So you were that new when you came to North Carolina? Like you were just really kind of checking it out?
She was.
Yes, I just barely started the products myself.
Wow.
Before I came. Really, Sarah in some way had been kind of telling me about it, but when we talk about products, we talk about the mechanism of action.
Mm-hmm.
And the mechanism of action is literally what is the driver to what we're going to pick for helping support our clients. And I needed something because I work with a lot of clients that have, how can I say this? Like cell issues. Things that, don't necessarily are for them. And it's kind of hard to marry things together because of conventional methods of their treatments. So I needed to figure out some way that I could help support what I was seeing from a metabolic perspective. And she's like, I really think you need to check out Alovéa. And so I did. And when I did, I looked at what the Ace Mannin was and what it was being used for. I was like, okay, I'm in. What do I got to do? And so she's
come to Bear Lake Reserve in the mountains.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. She's like, okay, so you're going to call this person and you're going to go ahead and you'll get a call and all the things. So the person that I spoke with was really good about explaining to me the mechanism of action of the things that I wanted to try. And so it was really great because everything that I have tried so far has been really helpful. My son's a D1 athlete. And so he's been using Fix for his recovery and he absolutely loves it.
Nice.
So yeah, I think knowing the mechanism of action and how we can apply that to our clients has been a game changer for me.
Wow. So Sarah, Steph was your first kind of okay, talking to her about it. She's going to come up to Bear Lake, but because you have this big vision of expanding this network, at the end of the day, you guys could have just said, all right, we like this company and we'll recommend the products here or there, or just take them yourselves and never really do anything with it. But you guys both decided saying we're going to be sponsored by this company and we're going to then help be part of growing not only how the company operates and supports this, and to be able to share it with other practitioners. Because obviously you have this vision about building something big. Otherwise, you would just have your own practice. No, Sarah
Right.
didn't want her own practice. You want to expand it all around the country. So
I
what are you
mean,
guys excited? What are you both excited about with the pros program and the impact that you think you can have with this?
yeah, I also remember the whole I'm a equilibrium disruptor. I take that to heart. I think what I see is the opportunity. One, the biggest difference is this is a different company that obviously is not profit first, but people first, which was really, really important to us because we serve people. And the fact that we can, yeah, there's residual income on that, but that's never the driver. The driver is never going to be, hey, you can win a cruise if you do that. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. Is this going to benefit the person that is sitting in front of me that needs this at this point? And I can pair it with other products and not get yelled at. Like that was, and I say that in a what kind of like it is a freedom that allows us to be able to experiment with better products that are on the market that happen to be sold in this business model that has typically been poo-pooed for a latter term, better term. And I was one of those people that like, oh my God, seriously, a network marketing company? No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it because of my bias that I had. Stephanie, on the other hand, had worked with companies like that before.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, Sarah, I really implore you to let's flip this and reframe it and let's look at it a different way. And I'm like, okay, I'm open. Talk to me, Goose. What are you trying to say? So I think we see a bigger impact in the sense that we can kind of help dispel some myths of and break down some barriers of what working with companies like this who have upstanding products that can really benefit from a cellular level, that isn't afraid to tell us the mechanism of action, that isn't afraid that we have other products that we actually bring in from other companies. Like that's not been a turnoff. And we can get these key molecules that seem to be at the very beginning of the inflammatory cascade and working in conjunction with life. We're big on food first. And the fact that it's a food technology really is what draws us because we don't really like a lot. Our goal is not to have people on a ton of products. Our goal is for them to bring from deficiency to sufficiency and then help them understand their influences from their lifestyle habits that shift and shape their day. So this company feel so far we've been like, okay, wait, when's the shoe gonna drop? Like, and then I'm like, all right, you know what? We're just gonna go for it. Okay, Craig, I got this idea. And
Awesome.
here we
Well,
are.
and you understand that skepticism, right? Because that, people have had those experiences. And what's fun is,
Very
you
real.
brought up the name Sam Castor and the founder of the company who Ann and I've known for a long time and actually helped bring him here and start this company. And, when you start to know the faith and the commitment
Beautiful
and the
soul.
purpose, and even the purpose behind the company, because for you talk about being, I'm no longer in the tennis world, but, when you were a sponsored athlete, you wanted to, like, knowing that you believed in that company was more important than what you were getting from the company. And now, unless you're a Roger Federer making, $100 million a year in sponsorship deals, the average coach is not getting that, right? The average coach is
Right?
getting
You're
something.
Craig Smith.
No, never quite got to that level. But, I loved getting the free product. I love creating the relationships and all those things. But, you want to really stand with the company. And I think for both of you, because you have so much credibility with your own individual practices, but now you're also connecting to this larger network of people that are making this commitment to change people's lives. What did it mean to you when you're kind of looking in, because obviously the product was first, but when you met Sam Castor, he was understand the company as a social business, which for those listening in is different than a lot of companies will do well, write a charity check and make a difference. And that's all great. But because they're a social business, it's top line revenue. It's a commitment. It's a buy one, give one model. So every single product sold to your clients, to your customers, to the tens and tens of thousands of customers out there, serving that same serving of the same technology, that same molecule is going to children in need. How did it make you guys feel when you got to meet Sam and hear that whole story, what the company is, kind of the real purpose behind it is to not only nourish people, but nourish the 7 million kids dying of malnutrition every year? Stuff. How did that feel? You're brand new, so you just all of a sudden you got Sam like day one. How did that feel for you?
Yeah, I got Sam day one and I got blessed. That's all I got to say. He was like, honestly, just, I mean, knowing all of the things about the products and all that was great, but really hearing the heart and also what God's hand was doing through this whole entire process to bring us all to where we were in that moment was really powerful. And he's one of the most beautiful souls I have ever met, aside from Sarah. It's just not often where you can really sit down with somebody. I had an opportunity to sit down with him and we had a really great conversation, probably a good like 30-minute conversation, about like how he, got to using his technology again and the patents and all, and how God just really kind of like opened these doors for him when he thought that the doors were going to be shut and he had to do something else. And I mean, it just goes to show you like the trust and the faith that you have is really important when you have, this big vision, and when God puts his plans like so clear in front of you that it's so scary to take the first step.
Yeah.
It's powerful. One of
awesome.
the things I think I've learned here is that Stefanie is very committed to working with people with S in their first names. Sarah, Sam, Stefanie. I'm seeing a trend.
Yep. You're Smith.
Well, that's my last name, so I'm not in the first level. I'm on the second tier. I think one of the things we have to commit to is to do a follow-up podcast, and we bring Sam on. And I'd love to see it. Would you guys want to do that?
Yeah,
absolutely. I would love to.
Nice. So Sarah, why don't you wrap this up for us today? So, what's your vision moving forward? What would you like to see with this as this grows within your own clinic, but also for the company and the impact that they're trying to have around the world?
Yeah, I really love I love the social business piece of it too. And what I see for what we're wanting to do with our, not just my practice, but the network, is the money that we bring in. We want to be able to set up kind of like a scholarship fund for people who don't have access to nutritional care, because that's we get a huge disparity between, everybody's paying thousands of dollars a month in insurance. And then we've been conditioned to not really get to access that money, but pay a copay. But then you're like, oh, functional medicine is so expensive. And I'm like, because we spend 40 hours on your case. Like that's in the first week, and we don't want the ever price to be like a barrier to, access to care, but we also have to respect the people that are pouring their hearts into these clients as well. So that's kind of a bigger vision with any company that we partner with, is that we want to be able to eventually set aside kind of like a foundation or a 501c3 or something like that to be able to utilize those funds to also give in a way. So we can kind of like double give, nourish kids and nourish other people. So, and then just being able to have quality products and really educate. In our world, we want to be able to educate practitioners of busting the barrier myth of working and partnering with a network marketing company or a social business company that does have a great product, and we don't need to be, mystified by this conventional speak that tells you that doesn't have the backing. When it has the backing, you just have to know where to look for it. It just can't be projected. But there's that clinical confidence I feel like we get to have, and we get to have access to people who are doing the same thing. That's what I'm most excited about the company, is that they're recognizing that practitioners have a different, not that we're better, that's not it. It's we have a different approach. We have a different sense of liability on us. And we also have the desire and the need to collaborate with each other to even further the product itself. So that's kind of where we are.
It's almost bringing what you've created in your own network. We're creating that pros network of professionals that can work together and have access to the company.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it.
Well, ladies, this was everything I'd hoped it would be. It was so much fun meeting you guys in the mountains, but to be able to have this fun and together. And I know everybody watching this is going to get a lot out of this information. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
All right. And we're going to do this again with Sam, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Perfect. All right, everybody. We'll see you on the next Alovéa Pros podcast.